I'm slightly worried about you because having watched Sir Ranulph Fiennes' presentation, I think you're sitting there with ideas, aren't you?
No, not me. That's more James Cracknell.
He would do that, exactly.
Just looking at his hands, is that I always thought of a few short tendons and a few blisters, but they're in pretty good condition compared to his.
Yeah, they've done all right. You clearly haven't tried hard enough. There was a shot there of your family, and actually I was quite pleased watching a lot of the shots in that film. I was with the cameraman who took them, and we got into the family enclosure when we weren't meant to, and certainly had a camera running when we weren't meant to. But it means that we could see your family's reaction to your achievements. How much did you actually spend time with your family and indeed think about them during your sporting career?
Surprisingly a lot, really. Is that we, in the sort of 12 months leading up to games, we would be away on training camps a lot. So you'd be at home for 2 or 3 weeks, you'd be away for 2 or 3 weeks, and that was sort of the routine. And of having young children by the end of it, my eldest was 9, my youngest was 2 at the time, is that routine is a great thing for family life. And so when you're at home, we train very early in the morning, finish by about 1 on the shortest days and 3 on the longer days. So I can actually pick up the children from school. That's great for the 2 or 3 weeks you're at home, but then you're away, and then that's all left to your partner that's got to sort of run family life from that point of view. And I think that made it difficult from that point of view. My wife was an Olympic athlete in her own right, so she knew what she was marrying into at that time. But a big change in my life was when children came along, because what I used to do for fun of messing about in a boat on the river and lakes around the world is that I had to change from that point of view. I had to try and become a little bit more financially solvent from that point of view, which wasn't the case beforehand.
Well, it is worth making the point that throughout your Olympic career, UK lottery funding came in, and at least you were able to finance your sport, but you were never making fortunes, were you? I mean, it's not a sport you go into to make money.
Lottery grants came for British athletes after the Atlanta Games, and Matthew and I picked up our first sponsorship just before that put us out the regime of getting that sponsorship, so that we weren't really that closely affected with the lottery money. It helped for the team on training camps and from that point of view, but we didn't get a direct grant from that, unfortunately.
Do you think that you were born slightly different and special, or did you become that way? Did you know that you had the ability to push your body beyond the limits of the rest of us, if I can say that?
No, definitely not. Is that I was heavily dyslexic, or still am, and school life was pretty tough from that point of view, struggling to read and write, of being put into the sort of lower sets of all the classes, apart from sport, which I was reasonable at, but I went to a small comprehensive school, and the head of the English department had 2 loves. One was rugby and the other was rowing, and he asked me if I would like to try the sport of rowing at sort of the age of 13, nearly 14, and to me, great, once a week during the games lesson, I could go out, leave school, and go out on the river. Unfortunately, after 2 or 3 weeks, I started going down every day after school, and it sort of became my life in some ways. And at a very young age is that from rowing at Marlow Rowing Club, it's not that far away from here, about half an hour's drive from where we are now, where I still live, is that there were people that were on the national team. We had 3 coaches from Marlow Rowing Club that were part of the national team, and they were saying, you could be world champion. You're capable of one day being a world champion. I thought, that sounds great. Yeah, no, that gives me a bit of a focus. It was one of the best things that happened to me, but also one of the worst things that happened, because I believed one day I was going to be world champion. I thought, well, why not world champion? Why not Olympic champion? And so I started setting my goals from that point of view. But I honestly believed that one day it was going to happen. All I didn't know was which year it was going to be. I felt my name was engraved on the trophy. It was just going to decide which year it was going to be. And so you sort of bide your time, you follow the coaching process of what you're asked to do. We didn't have any recent history of performance at that time. And so you're following a path of a team that hasn't been succeeding. And I went to one World Championships, performed really badly, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I felt, well, other people think I'm capable of doing this. I think I'm capable of doing this. Why isn't it happening? And we reevaluated the whole process and looked at it and decided that we weren't really trying hard enough. We weren't taking it professionally enough. And so sort of changed the attitude and within 9 months became Olympic champion.
Can you remember, in terms of breaking down, what it was that you did differently from, you clearly had the confidence and the self-belief, and you've talked about that. You go there, you fail. What do you start? Do you rip up the whole book, or do you just take certain things and say, right, I need to change this approach?
When you're trying to get to the top, that it's easier to follow a path of people that have been successful. So there are books out there, there are stories of how to be able to get there. So actually getting there is relatively easy, even though it is still extremely hard. Once you get there to try and get to a new level that no one's ever performed at before, that's where the book has to be ripped up and start again. And I suppose the process that I started to develop was we all know about personal bests, and that you sort of set yourself targets to get to, is that not everyone can be Olympic champion, not everyone can be the best in their field, but we all can be better than we are. We can all improve and look for our own personal best. And I think what really sums this up to me, it's a very old story, but a guy called John Naber, who's an American swimmer, and he competed at the Munich Games 1972. He was part of the American relay team in the swimming competition and helped that team qualify for the final, but didn't swim in the final himself. As he came out of those games, he thought, how can I get to the next level? I want to win that gold medal. I want to be part of that relay team in 76 in Montreal. And so what he did is he actually looked back through the history books and saw a steady improvement and almost predict a time that he felt that he had to do to win that gold medal in 4 years' time in the individual event, not just the team event. And he predicted a time of 55.5 seconds. That's what he had to do. His discipline was the 100 metres backstroke. The problem was his personal best at that time was 59.5 seconds. He had to go 4 seconds quicker over 100 metres swimming on his back. He thought, I can't do that, that's impossible. So by setting himself these targets, sort of blew himself away that he couldn't achieve it. But then he sort of started thinking a little bit more laterally about it and thinking, well, I don't have to swim that time today, tomorrow, this year. I've got 4 years to do it. So that's a second improvement in every year. He trained for 10 months everywhere. That's 1/10 of a second improvement in a month's training. 30 days roughly in a month. That's 1/300th of a second improvement in a day's training. He used to train for 4 hours a day, every day during that training period. So that's 1/1200th of a second improvement. It takes an eye to blink 5/1200ths of a second. So he's looking for 1/5 of an eye blink improvement in an hour's training. And that's simple. There's something you're going to be able to find that's going to be able to make you go that little bit quicker. The difficult thing is you've got to do that of every hour, of every day, of every month, of every year. Obviously, the moral of the story is he did get to the Games. He was part of the relay team that took the gold medal and swam in that final. And he made the final of the individual event where he was racing two-time Olympic champion, world record holder, and that sort of a process. And took the gold medal in a time of 55.49 of a second. So what seemed to be impossible, he broke it down, looked at it very laterally in a different way from normal ways of looking at it. And in some ways, that's what you've got to do, is that those targets are great to be able to do that. When I retired, I sort of then started raising money for charity. And I set up my own charitable trust to try and raise £5 million in 5 years. And I thought, oh, I remember that story, I'm going to break it all down. And breaking it down to £20,000 a week, every week for 5 years, having 2 weeks off each way, it's not going to happen. So we actually looked at it from a different point of view, focused on big occasions to try and raise a lot of money. So really what you have to do is to look at the tasks you have, look at the way your process of doing it, and then maybe turn it on its head and look at it in different ways. And to get to the next level, you just got to look at all the tools that you can offer in that direction to get to.
Your body was very much your friend, and certainly through the early part of your career, until you got diabetes. What happened then, and how did you have to change your nutritional plan, and actually did you have to reassess whether you were still capable of doing what you wanted to do?
Well, once I was diagnosed, I thought that it was my international career over. That was 3 years before my last Olympics. I had a grandfather that had diabetes in his late 60s, early 70s, and didn't survive much longer than that. So I knew it was a pretty serious condition. And so I knew that I had to be monitored, and being an Olympic top athlete is not going to happen. And so I went to the consultation stage that I was expecting. My consultant is now going to tell me I can't do what I was doing. I was with him for 3 hours, and at the end of it he says, well, I don't see any reason why you can't achieve your dreams in 3 years' time. And I thought, oh, if he thinks I can do it, I'll give it my best shot. He did say it was going to be hard, He didn't tell me that he didn't have a clue of how we were going to go about it and what we were going to do. He'd scoured the internet in the few hours before I came and saw him, and the sort of his vision. It wasn't until after we achieved what we did, he told me the reality of that he didn't have a clue of how we were going to do it. And I suppose it was his attitude that I felt that diabetes had to live with me, not me live with diabetes, and that was quite a good way of taking on the challenge in some ways.